Hey guys, welcome back. Carter, BitsBeTrippin. We're going to jump right into this one. We're going to be talking the MSI RTX 3070. Now, this is the non-LHR. That's the light hash rate. For folks that don't track that, that means that the card has been electronically limited through software, the driver itself, to not mine something like Ethereum at its full efficiency. This is a card that does not have that lock, and we're going to get right into this. The big thing, you guys have probably seen 100 of these different type of examples on the 3070 from various channels, and that's awesome. We'll link some of the different channels here below. But what we're going to test and check real quick is what the power usage at the riser level and at the 12 volt inputs on top. We got the BBT multimeter plugged in, and we're going to give you guys those numbers. It's been mining overnight, Ethereum Classic, and we're going to be giving you guys some numbers here. But before that, let's move to our sponsor. Decentralization is one of the most important factors in a global cryptocurrency network. Bitcoin's proof of work functions due to the exceptional security provided by the miners of the network. Today's sponsor is Compass Mining, a company with a customer-focused experience, providing a tailored approach to purchasing, hosting, or even an at-home option, allowing anyone the opportunity to participate. If this interests you, head over to compassmining.io. Hey guys, we're back. So let's take a look at what this thing is using from a single PC standpoint when we're talking the BBT multimeter here. So right now it's plugged in to the riser and the 12 volt rel, as we said before. And this machine in total, this is where the total power is coming from, is about 154 watts. Now that's being made up from 25 watts to 26 watts on the GPU riser. Now let's quickly switch over to look at what the meter shows us on the 12 volt rel. All right, now we can see this now as we switched over to the GPU rel. It's around 90 to 93 watts for a total of 110 to 120 watts in total power usage. The delta of that, the remaining amount of that 154 is what the PC is using. So the motherboard power, the USB stick that's in there that's running simple mining, that's the collective rest of the power. So about 35 watts on this particular setup. So if you were using this as a gaming PC and you had this card in your gaming PC, you could put something like simple mining or Hive OS on a USB stick and then just have that as a secondary boot device. So you restart, you come into Hive, you're trying to lower your total overall power usage. So you want the leanest setup running when you're mining. So even if on a gaming PC and this was a single card instance here, you'd want to run that in that way. So let's switch over real quick to the laptop and let's get a view on what our settings are in making this happen. So we're at negative 200 core. You see that over to the right here. You're at 1900 memory and you're at about 127 watts of power usage right now set. Now that's giving you around 59.2 mega hash. Now this is Ethereum Classic. This would have the same, settings and output on Ethereum also. It's been running for a little over 20 hours, so it's super stable and it's very cool. So now you could run this to around 2100 memory and you would see around 61 mega hash for a little more power. You need to bring the power up to about 130 to 135 watts on this particular card, and you'll raise the temperature about 5 degrees. What I want to show in this example here is that you can run these just a little slower and you'll save about 5 total Celsius on the output. And when you're starting to talk about potentially thousands of GPUs or even a couple hundred GPUs from some of your larger to mid farms, sometimes it makes more sense to bring these down a click and it saves you on that heat distribution that you need. And you can get really close. You can get within the 95 percentile of where you should be on the total output of the card here. So we're looking at, a pretty decent power setting on this with, only using 120 to 125 watts on this power usage, or for this amount of output here. So what we're going to do quickly is we're going to switch this over to where you guys can see what something like Raven's doing. So let's pivot real quick. All right, guys, let's check Ravencoin. We've let it run for a little bit here. I played around with some settings. And before we actually bring that up, I wanted to make sure that people understand with something like Ravencoin, comparable to Ethereum, Ethereum is a very memory intensive algorithm. So on the core, you have essentially the core on the graphics card and you have the memory on the graphics card. Ethereum is very memory intensive, core very light. So your memory temperature will get a little warm with Ethereum, but your core is not using a ton of power. Thereby, your power doesn't have to be a huge amount of factor on it. With something like Ravencoin is very core and memory intensive, and you can throw a whole bunch of power to these cards and get a little more yield out of Ravencoin, but you're going to be paying for it on the cost. And what I'm going to be showing you here is we're really close to what the card's power and settings were on Ethereum, and we're still getting a pretty decent rate of return on Ravencoin here. So let's pivot over to the laptop here, and you guys get to see the settings here. So for this particular card, the RTX 3070, we can achieve about 27.8 mega hash, which is pretty decent for a 3070. We can actually get this all the way up to 39 mega hash if we give it a little more power out there. And we can see right here, let me refresh this right here. We were playing with some settings here. So we're at 138 on the right there. So I had it at 155. It gets around almost 30 mega hash if it's at 155 watts. If we're at negative 100 on the core, 1900 memory on this card, and 138, we're setting at 53C. So we're only taking up 3 degrees on the core on Ravencoin, which mind you is pretty task intensive on these 3070s. And we're at 28 mega hash. So we only get 2 mega hash if we give it 20 more watts, and we get roughly almost 2, we're getting almost 22, 25 watts in addition usage on the GPU for that heat. And then that heat will take you up to about 57C. So bottom line, is the 2 mega hash worth it on this card? I personally don't think so. I think you get this thing dialed in at about 138 watts. You set these settings on the 3070s. Try these with your 3070s if you're out there, and try to make sure that you're using it efficiently. You'll see anywhere from 207 to 212 kilowatt hour efficiency rating. And, I think you're going to be at a good spot for there. So that gives you an idea from a task intensive core on what this GPU does. Now let's take a quick look, switch it back to the main screen here, and see what we're looking from a power standpoint on this. So right now we have it set to, I believe, the riser. So let's take a look at the meter and see what we're looking at here. So we're looking right around that 28 to 30 watts coming from the actual riser itself. And then you're looking right around about 100 or so watts in total from the 12 volt. So you can see that about 101, 103 watts in total there, which then brings our total up on this to about 170 watts or so on the full system, to give you an idea. So again, you do not have to bake the cards. I want to make sure people are fully aware of that. I get a lot of messages about the cards and how much, they're very heat and task intensive on the cards themselves. They are if you leave the settings that way. So make sure you dial back your settings. You won't be reaching for the stars when it comes to the amount of mega hash, but you will save yourself some time and fan speed. These things are setting a 30% fan speed. This is what you're looking at. So hopefully you guys like this kind of content, get you some exposure to what the power draw on the riser is, especially if you're planning out your power and your design. If you're talking 12 to 12 card mining rig, 8 card mining rig, you can understand where your power delivery is going to be coming from. And links in the description below for the card. We have a shameless plug out there. I think we got some Amazon links out there for that. But if you're looking to do this in this space, understand some of those settings that you can go out there. Make sure you're following some of those other channels out there. Red Panda, you got Red Fox Crypto, Vosk. You got a lot of different channels out there covering this space. Make sure you're throwing them a follow also. And I got a shill ours at the bottom. Make sure you're subscribed to us. Share this content. Let's try to get to 100,000 before the end of the year. That's what my goal is. And help us get there. It gets more people exposed to this space and join this journey with us. So thanks, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one.